Hi there, Brenna Baucum with Collective Wealth Planning. Happy almost October. I record these videos a day or two before the first of each month. So as I said here, it is September 30th, and our country is on the verge of a government shutdown. So depending on what happens in the next 24 hours, you may be asking yourself, what does a government shutdown mean for my money? First, I encourage you to think about it through the lens of data blackout, not doomsday. So during shutdowns, key government reports like jobs and inflation often don't get released on time, and that leaves the Fed and investors flying blind for a little bit. So you can expect some headlines and maybe some choppiness in the markets, but mostly around missing data, not because the economy itself is broken. Second, regulators shift to skeleton crews. The SEC pares back to just the essential functions, and that can slow down IPO approvals and some routine oversight, but it doesn't shut down trading or the plumbing of the markets itself. Liquidity remains and the basics still work. Third is interest rates. So with fewer data points coming out, the Fed is more likely to lean on some of its existing guidance, and that can cause some movement in the bond market and the yield curve. But again, that's noise that we plan for, not that we react to. And finally, let's talk about how stocks usually react. So shutdowns can bring more day-to-day volatility, but overall growth often continues. So for example, during the 16-day shutdown in 2013, the S&P 500 gained a little over 3% overall, despite a few choppy days in there. And in the longest shutdown on record, which is a 35-day closure in 2018-19, the index actually rose a little over 10%. So as always, past performance is not a guarantee of what's going to happen now, but these episodes remind us that we should not let headlines drive our decisions. So, what should you do if the government does shut down? The diplomatic and compliance-approved answer is it depends on your unique situation and circumstance, which it absolutely does. At our firm, we are sticking to the plans that we've built with and for each of our client families. They're diversified, disciplined, and designed to weather both headlines and history. A shutdown might grab attention, but it is not a reason to toss out a thoughtful plan. All right, on to the resources that we created and curated for you this month. First up, to read. I have an article about why Medicare Part D premiums could rise up to $50 a month in 2026 and why it pays to shop around during open enrollment, which runs now. It's going to open up here in October through December. So whether you are covered by Medicare or an employer plan, it's worth reviewing your coverage. To watch, you can check out our newest video on the 4 clear steps you need to find the right financial advisor for you, cutting through the noise and really focusing in on what matters. And to listen, there's a podcast series I found called Control Your Retirement Destiny. It is hosted by a fellow CFP, and each episode is just about 20 minutes. And they cover everything from Social Security to taxes to investments to estate planning in a very clear and approachable way. In this month's newsletter, you'll also find our quarterly collective catch-up, and that's a little insight into what's going on with our firm and our families and the community. And I have 2 October events I really want to encourage you to consider. One of them is on October 23rd. It's a webinar for Oregon PERS members who are nearing retirement. And the second event is an in-person event here in Salem, Oregon on October 27th, designed for women planning. So there's going to be me talking about finance. There's going to be an attorney talking through estate planning, as well as a representative from the local hospice area to talk about end-of-life considerations, all these really important meaty topics. So really, we consider that a community conversation. It's hosted by Willamette Wealth Collective, which I am honored to be a part of. As always, thanks for letting me be a part of your journey. I hope these updates and resources help you feel more informed and confident as you plan for what's next. Thanks for watching.